Yeah, I think this course is going to be more about me than me trying to create some kind
Okay, got 8 seconds.
of. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Housing Podcast. I'm your host, Tim McDANIEL, and we're here to talk about the 12 lessons learned. So, the 12 lessons learned when starting my business, I want to share them with you. So then that way I can impart on you what I learned throughout my experience of starting my company. Learning lesson number 1: resilience pays off. Learning lesson number 2: passion and purpose. Learning lesson number 3: adaptability. Learning lesson number 4: empathy matters. Learning lesson number 5: mentorship and leadership. Learning lesson number 6: community engagement. Learning lesson number 7: financial literacy. Learning lesson number 8: innovation. And learning lesson number 9: continuous learning. Learning lesson number 10: networking. Learning lesson number 11: work-life balance. Learning lesson number 12: self-belief. Believing in yourself. So, thank you for hearing me share my 12 lessons learned from when I first got started in the housing business. So, going back to learning lesson number 1, resilience paying off, I go back to when I first got started as an entrepreneur and I started many different endeavors. I mean, I kind of went through the whole MLM experience. I mean, you can name the gamut: ACN, 5 Links, Cutco, Primerica, World Financial Group. You can name it. I've done it. But I appreciate there was no limit to income, right? So I was inspired by that. But there was a lot of failures kind of starting off, not really understanding, business so much. And yeah, I just want to let you know when you get started off in business that resilience is going to be very important, because it wasn't until my daughter was born that I gave myself another chance to start another business. And that just so happened to be the business to help me become independent, right? And so resilience does pay off. Learning lesson number 2: passion and purpose, right? Now, the example I give for this is when I first started my company and I didn't really know how I was going to pay the bills. I didn't know how I was going to generate a profit, how I was going to generate income. But because of my passion, I was able to inspire, right, a client, right? It was actually a property owner. And I've actually done business with them in the past when I was an employee. And they actually called me and say, hey, I have another vacancy. Can you fill it? And I came in, kind of letting them know, like, I'm actually doing this under my own nonprofit now. And because he understood my passion for helping low-income veterans that were homeless obtain housing, he was my first client, because I was letting him know. I said, how much would you pay, right, for this service? And he told me that he would pay me, and he gave me, and that really would build up my business model. Right. So through my passion and through me just serving, through my purpose, I was actually able to build up a business model. Learning lesson number 3: adaptability. Well, adapting the business is pretty much your creative side. So even if you're doing, kind of mundane things as a real estate or a housing professional, right? The ability to adapt is your ability to be creative in the marketplace, right? So I remember we had a lot of different ideas and how we wanted to get started in serving. in the way that we do in helping low income obtain housing, right? And then also identifying property owners as a client, right? We had different ideas on how we will make those two pieces fit together, right? So we kind of started off saying, okay, mom and pops maybe is the best fit for us. Let's go after those mom and pop property owners, right? Because that was like my first client, right? They were a pop. And so that's what we kind of started off as, right? And then we started identifying these property owners that had many apartment buildings. And so then we kind of changed up our business model where, okay, look, we want to find apartment building owners because they had more inventory, right? So we was able to kind of change our kind of focus from there. Then after that, we was like, okay, like, that's kind of limited too. We still need even more affordable housing options. And so we end up getting into micro communities. That's where we started working with housing developers, where they were building these affordable housing complexes, even on a small lot, 7,000 square foot and having 18 units available. They were more studio style. And, and then when the market changed with COVID, we had to, again, adapt. Right. And so adaptability in the marketplace is very vital to your success in the housing business. Learning lesson number 4, empathy matters. So in the population that you serve, I think there's a saying that people don't know how much you know until they know how much you care. So no matter how much we're going to build you up, no matter how much you've already built yourself up to be a specialized professional in this housing industry, we want you to know that empathy does matter. And again, people don't know how much you know until they know how much you care. Learning lesson number 5, mentorship and leadership. Mentorship and leadership is a hard thing in business, right? Because for the most part, you're the decision maker, right? The advice that you should be taking is, or not should, but most times, often is your own, right? And so it's kind of hard to navigate, okay, who to bring on as a mentor, who can you bring in as a leader in helping you lead your effort, right? So a lot of it has to do with really nurturing your community, right? Nurturing your community in a way that maybe there's credibility in some of the professionals in your community that have established themselves, reaching out to them and let them know that you are seeking some mentorship. Even if you're first starting out, maybe you're interning for, one of these companies, or maybe you're asking if they have a job, if, you've kind of built up a resume and you can serve in their company, right? Or maybe you want to do a joint venture partnership with them, and you haven't necessarily gone through that process, and you want to get some mentorship, right? Make sure that you're nurturing mentorship. I would say I can name a lot of mentors that I've kind of worked with in every level of my business. I can name you 2, 3 mentors who was there for me to bounce ideas off, for me to run solutions over obstacles that I was facing. So make sure you're seeking mentorship and leadership. Learning lesson number 6, community engagement. Right. The way I got started off in business, I was actually a community activist. During that time, I was serving on the Watts Neighborhood Council. I was serving on the commission for the revenue generation with the city of Los Angeles. I was on the homeless liaison and the mayor's task force. Right. I was a community advocate. I was, going to City Hall, speaking at town hall meetings. I was there on the ground. And so how I got started in my company was really leveraging my relationship with the community and with the people that to identify their needs, right? Because at the end of the day, the last thing that I want to bring to my business are solutions that the people didn't want. And so through, my community engagement, and then through my purpose and passion, I was able to build a business. Learning lesson number 7. Financial literacy. Money management is everything as an entrepreneur, right? If you fail to manage your money, you are failing to fail. You are planning to fail in business. And let me say that again. If you're failing to manage your money, then you're planning to fail in business. So there was a lot of different concepts that I had to learn, right? Before I had to build myself up to be who I am today. I would say if you're just getting started and as an entrepreneur, one of the first things you want to learn about are the different financial vehicles that people use to invest their money, to budget, right, and to manage cash flow. Okay, there are a lot of different products that companies offer, right, in the marketplace that will allow you to better budget, better understand what are good investments versus maybe risky investments, right? And then also how to manage your cash flow, your profit and loss statements. There's, softwares, there's a lot of different things that you can utilize. And so we definitely want to incorporate as many financial literacy components in your business as possible when you're getting started, because as you get started, it starts to get more advanced, right? Because now you're talking about leveraging capital, right? Leveraging, other people's money potentially, right? Leveraging grants and all of this thing, and being able to audit your own budget so you can stay out of trouble. So financial literacy is definitely one of the key ingredients to being successful in the housing business. Learning lesson number 8, innovation, right? We were just talking about open AI and how much we've started to leverage that technology into our business. It's mind blowing to really understand how much we've been able to expedite the time for us to not only deliver kind of content, but also deliver responses to the marketplace by leveraging, AI, right? Because what we're doing now is we're developing continuous learning, which we will talk about next. We're developing marketing campaigns to engage better with our customer base and to better serve, the people that we're helping. So innovation is very, very important. Don't be intimidated by it. Don't let it, result in fear, right? We're faith-based, focused organization, and so we want to focus on faith over fear. Learning lesson number 8, continuous learning. Okay, so we were just talking about that. Business landscape is rapidly evolving, so it's very important that you learn how to leverage these different technologies, right? I took a 2-day boot camp course on AI for 24 hours, over a 2-day period to learn how to leverage AI into my business, right? So that's an example of what it takes for you to learn, pretty much how to stay on top of your game, right? Because we all need to level up, and iron sharpens iron. So always try to identify educational resources in your profession so you can level up your game. Learning lesson number 10, networking. That's the funnest thing about being an entrepreneur, is that you have the capacity to network and build relationships with other entrepreneurs or service providers to help you obtain your mission and service, right? So building a network can open up doors to new opportunities and collaborations. So I want to make sure that, you understand how to build. So we have different strategies on how to go about that. If that's new to you, or maybe that's intimidating, through this course, you will find some different strategies on how you can incorporate some networking strategies and become an effective networking in your business. Learning lesson number 11, work-life balance, right? There's nothing more important to me than work-life balance. I got started in my company because I wanted to spend more time with my newborn daughter, right? And, I wanted to make sure that the business that I was building was going to be something I was going to be okay with after it got built up, to a certain point where I got busy and I still had to manage my life, right? So make sure that you incorporate what's important to you time wise, how much time you want to spend working versus, working. And so we have different strategies. We call it a war map, right? We identify a blueprint that most people maybe haven't thought about, when they're putting together their action plan or their calendar, right? We develop a war map, right, in order to make sure that you thinking about how to incorporate a healthy work-life balance for you and yourself. And learning lesson number 12, self-belief, right? The most important thing that you can do as a human is to believe in your purpose. So, especially as a professional in the housing industry, we want to give you some resources, right? So we have a tons of resources that we share to build up your self belief in what you're doing, right? So we have books, we have other mentors that work with us that want to work with our community. Um, I mean, we want to make sure that you believe in what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in it, the marketplace is not going to reward you. They're not going to believe in what you're doing. And if you can't find that confidence in yourself that what you're doing is going to work, then that's when you tap back into the other learning lessons, right? So that's why number 12 is self-belief, is because at the end of it all, we want to make sure that you're believing in yourself, that you're believing in the product and service that you're providing in this housing industry. Well, thank you so much for listening for the 12 lessons learned, right? We hope that these lessons be of value to you, right, as you go about and imparting your service within the housing industry. Thanks again. I'm your host, Tim McDANIEL. That's wild.
Head of my household in the world is so cold. As soon as I step out, I hear the trumpets blow. They like a bump, bump, bump. We all kind of devious. I cruise the town right around back to previous old ways. My lady kicked me out, it's okay. It's the two spots of flavor. I'll see you later, babe. Cliche, that Tuesday we made up. The whole scene was makeup and my role is major. But wake up, cause my phone starts ringing. You call me like heroes, baby. We crazy in a beautiful way. She trades business on eBay.